Greetings to the 12 tribes of Yasharala that are scattered to the four corners of the world, as well as those that are grafted in. I am back with another video. And in today's video is going to be entitled, Have You Taken the Mark? Have you taken the mark? It's the title of today's video. I'm going to go ahead and get right into it, you all. And I pray that a higher opens hearts and minds. And I pray that these words are received and taken to heart and fall on fertile ground in those that view this message. And also, before we get started, I want to say that I am not a doctor. I'm not a doctor, as well as the what's it called? The FDA, as well as the World Health Organization says that the COVID vaccine is safe and effective. And I am not a doctor to dispute that. Um, what we are going to review today is for educational purposes only, and any videos that are shown are going to be shown under fair use. So I would like to state that at the beginning of the video because I have had 2 videos taken down within the last 2 months. All right. So let's go ahead and jump into it. I'm not going to share my screen just yet, but I'm going to start off by just reading some research that I sent this email to a friend a few years ago. I think this was maybe around in 2020. But I want to read from Revelations, the book of Revelations, 13, chapters 16 through 18. And he causes all, both small and great, rich and poor, to receive a mark on their right hand or in their foreheads, and that no man might buy or sell save he had the mark, or the name of the beast, or the number of his name. Here is wisdom. Let him that has understanding count the number of the beast, for it is the number of a man, and his number is 666. So I want you all to pay attention to that too, as far as the number. We know that 600 and then 60 is 60, and then 6. So we will write that 666 if we were just writing the number. But then if we are writing that number in expanded form, we will write 600 plus 60 plus 6, or 600 plus or times 60 times 6. All right. So we are going to let's see. So in this study, I looked up the word mark, which was the Greek word 5482, and it means a scratch or an etching. And then I went to dictionary.com and looked up an etch. What is it? What is the definition of etch? And it literally means to cut. An etch means to cut, to bite, or to corrode with an acid, the like, to engrave with an acid, or the like, as to form a design that when charged with ink will give an impression. That is what the definition for etch is in on dictionary.com. Okay, and so so it said that people will have to receive a mark And then we want to talk about the name. So that was what mark meant, a scratch or an etching. And we're going to go deeper into the Greek and the Hebrew concordance into those words as well. But then we also were told that they had to accept the name of the beast. You had to accept his mark, his name, or the number of the name. So the name of the beast, if you look that up in the Greek, it means to know, which is G1097, to know absolutely, to derive pleasure or advantage from. And then the number of his name literally means his seed, his pedigree, or his genealogy. Genesis 3:15 talks about when the serpent, the woman, and Adam were all cursed. The enemy was told that the seed of the woman would crush his head, and that there would be enmity, or basically enemies. His seed, the seed of the Most High, and the seed of the enemy, there will be enmity between them. All right. So the number of his name refers to his genealogy or his pedigree, his literal children or seed in the earth. The seed of the serpent are his pedigree, and they represent the number of his name. We see an example of this in the book of Numbers, verse 1, chapter 1, verse 18. And they assembled all the congregation together on the first day of the second month, and they declared their pedigrees after their families by the house of their fathers, according to the number of the names, from 20 years old and upwards, by their polls. So that is the number of the name. And then once again, to know, which is G1097, means to know absolutely, to derive pleasure or advantage from. So that simply identifies those who chose the enemy for the pleasures of this world. They chose the enemy to gain advantage from him in this world. Just like the word to know means intimacy, the same like the Most High knows his sheep, and his sheep knows his voice, or a husband and a wife intimately know one another. So that represents the category of to know. So you have to receive the mark, which is some type of cutting, scratching, or etching. You have to receive his name, meaning you have to choose him or choose to worship him for the gain or advantages of the world. Or you have to be his literal seed or his genealogy under his house after the number of the names. All right, now let's keep going. At this time, I may go ahead and share my screen. Oh, what is, oh, okay. And then we are told that everyone has to receive it. Everyone has to receive, here we go. So this is Blue Letter Bible. Let's see if I can just move this over to the side or something. Just move it down here. Okay. So when we take a look at like I said, this is Blue Letter Bible, and he calls us all both small and great. So no matter what your statue is in the earth, no matter if you're a little old nobody, or no matter if you are a person of um great, you're a celebrity or you're a person that is known, he's going to call alls, rich and poor. So no matter your social status, if you're a millionaire or a poor person, no matter if you are a free person or bond. So if you're free or you're in prison, everyone is going to be required to receive this mark. The word mark is G5480, in their right hand or in their foreheads. So let's take a look at G5480, which means mark, and it literally means a stamp or an imprinted mark. But I'm going to go down to the definition. It is the word charagma, and the root of that word, or is derived from G5482. It means a scratch or an etching, and we just read what the definition of etching was in dictionary.com. It meant a cut and a engravement or signature. Okay, so it also says a stamp as a bond of a badge of servitude, or a sculpture figure, which is an idol, a graven mark. All right. So so it says that it was derived from G5482. So now we're going to take a look at 5482. And 5482, the definition here is Cherex. Cherex means to sharpen to a point, akin to, or akin to G1125, through the idea of scratching, a stake, i.e., by implication, a palisade or a rampart. All right, a military mound for circumvallation in a siege or a trench. So this is once again still, so this is telling us, we just read something is going to be cut, engraved, like a scratch or an etching or a imprintment, and it's going to be it's going to come through a stake or a palisade. So now let's look at a few images of a stake. Not this type of steak, not the steak that we eat, but a steak such as, the vampire movies, putting a stake through the chest of the vampire. Um, Here are some different images of steaks. If you're, staking down a tent, um, let's go further. We can take that to the point of a needle, possibly. It looks like a stake. If you know, like the people that have the metal fences, the tip of the metal fence, the black metal fence, are pointed up like a stake. And it could possibly look like this. I'm just wondering, are these the type of images that our prophets, that the prophets before us saw being shown to them, what was going to take place in the earth? All right, let's keep going. So now it says that it would be administered in their right hand or their forehead. So we are going to go to for right hand is, let's see how to pronounce this. Dexios.
Strong's G 1188. Dexios.
Okay.
Dexios.
Dexios. G1188 means right hand, but it does not only mean right hand, it means right side. There is no difference. Let's go down to the definition here. It's from G1209, the right side or the hand as that which is usually takes the right hand or side. So this is the same word, whether for hand and or arm, it means the entire right side. There's no there's not a different Hebrew word that separates hand or arm. If you're referring to either term, you would use this word, dexios. Okay. And then here it says the space between the eyes or the forehead for the word forehead, which is metaphon, it's G3359. And it not only is it just referring to the forehead here, but it specifically says the face, metaphon from G3326, the face, the forehead as opposite of countenance, the forehead, the space between the eyes. So right here, around right here, the space between the eyes or the bridge of the nose is more specifically as to what this word is referring to. So now let's take a look. Can it possibly be the space between the eyes around the bridge of the nose here? Let's look at this.
Have the patient blow her nose into a tissue to clear excess secretions from the nasal passages. Tilt the patient's head back slightly so that the nasal passages become more accessible. Instruct the patient to close her eyes to lessen the mild discomfort of the procedure. Gently insert the swab along the nasal septum just above the floor of the nasal passage to the nasopharynx until resistance is felt. Rotate the swab gently against the nasopharyngeal mucosa for 10 to 15 seconds. Gently remove the swab and place it into its container.
Let's play this again.
Have the patient blow her nose into a tissue to clear excess secretions from the nasal passages. Tilt the patient's head back slightly so that the nasal passages become more accessible. Instruct the patient to close her eyes to lessen the mild discomfort of the procedure. Gently insert the swab along the nasal septum just above the floor of the nasal passage to the nasopharynx until resistance.
This is absolutely amazing to me that this is my second time recording this video, and this particular, it seems like it's just amazing that this video, when I'm not recording, it's been playing fine, but it did the same thing in the last video, but I'm going to try again.
Have the patient blow her nose into a tissue to clear excess secretions from the nasal passages. Tilt the patient's head back slightly so that the nasal passages become more accessible. Instruct the patient to close her eyes.
Let's refresh this page.
Have the patient blow her nose into a tissue to clear excess secretions from the nasal passages. Tilt the patient's head back slightly so that the nasal passages become more accessible. Instruct the patient to close her eyes to lessen the mild discomfort of the procedure. Gently insert the swab along the nasal septum just above the floor of the nasal passage to the nasopharynx until resistance is felt. Rotate the swab gently against the nasopharyngeal mucosa for 10 to 15 seconds. Gently remove the swab and place it into its container.
Okay. Okay. So that worked. So I'm going to stop just for one moment. Stop sharing. So we were told that we needed to, social distance. We needed to stay at least 6 feet away from our family, our friends, strangers. We needed to isolate ourselves because there was this deadly virus that we knew little about. And so many of our family and friends, we all did that. We stayed away from our children and grandchildren. Well, I did not, but I know people that did. And, I had relatives that didn't want me to come over because they were afraid of this invisible virus, and you didn't know if you could be asymptomatic or not. So, but if this virus was so deadly, why could people not just blow a sample into a tissue or to be used as a culture? Or why did they have to go back all the way back to the blood-brain barrier, to the back of the nasal cavity, and then turn for 15 seconds in each nostril? It seems as if, if you were infected, they could just go around the edge of your nose, just inside. But that's just a question that I have. And this, again, is just for educational purposes. Let's take a look at this, you all. This is from Johns Hopkins University, and this is from their newsroom. All right, I put the links to all this. Johns Hopkins Medicine. Johns Hopkins researchers engineered tiny shape-changing medicines that deliver medicine efficiently to the GI tract. This was published in November of 2020. All right. So this is called a Theragrippers, and when it's exposed to internal body temperature, it closes on the intestinal wall. So it goes in open like this. And the medicine is around each. I find it very interesting. Let me show you all something. I just really paid attention to this, but I find it very interesting. It just happens to be the star Remfram or the Baphomet. Maybe I'm just reaching, but I just found that interesting. All right, so it goes in and it has these spikes here. So it goes and it's administered to the blood-brain barrier. Those spikes penetrate the blood-brain barrier in the back of your nose, because that is the thinnest point of your body. That's thinnest point to access your brain. And it acts as a parasite. You will see that inspired by a parasitic worm. And that's the way that a parasite would work. John Hopkins engineer team teams up to design Theragrippers to deliver medicine into the GI tract. So once again, it goes in through the blood-brain barrier. It digs its sharp teeth into the host intestines, so it locks into the intestinal wall, and then these star-shaped micro devices latch into the intestinal mucosa and release the drugs into the body. And this is a picture. This is a picture of the tip of a swab, and it says a Theragripper is about the size of a speck of dust. This swab contains dozens of the tiny devices. All right. Made of metal and thin changing film and coated in a heat-sensitive paraffin wax. Theragrippers, each roughly the size of a dust speck, potentially can carry drugs and release it gradually into the body. And so they preferred this because they said that there was a problem with other extended release drugs that will make their way to the gastrointestinal tract and then dispense the medicine too fast. So they prefer this method because it dispenses the medicine gradually into the body to make sure that the body absorbs it slowly or whatnot. So I will put this in the hold on. I will put this in the description box, you all, for so that you can read about it and you're on your own time. And let's see what am I doing back here while we move to the next thing. So let's take a look at this. This is a very interesting video that I pulled up. This shows an intranasal vaccine being administered to a dog.
This is not an intertracheal vaccine, it's an intranasal. So we just want it into the nasal cavity. So all we're going to do is get him comfortable. Now, if you have an anxious dog, what I love to do is give him a treat, show him another treat, put it in my pocket. Then they think about it while I'm doing it. So he's up here trying to figure out what I have. I'm just dripping it onto the nose gently, and you can see he's pulling it in. And he's a little uncomfortable because he says, why do you keep doing it? And this is just fine. They can do that. So now he's vaccinated safely and effective. It didn't bother him. Any questions?
All right. So just by he stated that this dog was vaccinated safely and effectively simply by him holding the dog's nose back and dropping or letting the vaccine drip to the back of the nasal cavity. All right. This is another video. Well, I'm sorry, this is not a video. Let me share this picture with you all. All right, so here is a picture of an Egyptian hieroglyph of the Egyptians performing lobotomies or nasal swabs on the Hebrew slaves. And it looks very similar to something today. Like the Bible says, there's nothing new under the sun. Nothing new under the sun, you guys. So once again, the Egyptian hieroglyph, it said that they bruised the amygdala, the amygdala, in order to make slaves more submissive and compliant. So here it's being done in ancient Egypt. Here it's being done in current Egypt. And here is an image of the procedure as well. All right, so once again, I just pulled this image of the brain along with the cranial cavity, showing that if something is inserted through the nasal passage, it goes all the way back to the thinnest point, which is this little cortex here. It's basically like a mucosal cavity that just separates your brain, or it just has some fluid that goes around it, like your cerebral fluid, your spinal fluid that protects the brain. But once you go to the back of the nasal cavity and you can puncture or penetrate this mucosal wall here and have direct access to the bloodstream as well as the brain. All right, so let's keep going. Also here, grapho, that is another, remember that the word white, the word mark also meant grapho, the root word, which is a root word, and it actually means to write, writing, describe, or variations of write. So once again, it's telling us that something is, it says to grade, especially to write, figuratively, to describe, write, writing, or written. Now, this is what I found very interesting, you all. Let's see. Oh, I didn't mean to go back there. So this is the word tav. We know that well, tav is the 22nd letter of the Hebrew alphabet, but we also know that Ahia himself, that even our King Yeshaya is described as the Aleph and the Tav. He says, I am the Alpha and the Omega. They translated it to Alpha and the Omega. He actually said, I am the Aleph and the Tav, meaning I am the beginning and the end. The Aleph is the first word of the Hebrew alphabet. The Tav is the 22nd letter of the Hebrew alphabet, and the last of the Hebrew alphabet. But Tav also means mark. It means mark, by implication, a signature. A signature. Okay? A desire or mark. So, I'll go even further into, so we're told, so let's say it this way. They're cutting marks away and they're writing other marks. They're imprinting other marks. All right. Now, this is the National Human Genome Research Institute, and we're going to read about our DNA, which is described as a double helix. Here's the definition here for double helix. Double helix, as related to genomics, is a term used to describe the physical structure of DNA. A DNA molecule is made up of two linked strands that wind around each other to resemble a twisted ladder in a helix-like shape. Each strand has a backbone made of alternating sugar and phosphate groups. Attached to each sugar is one of four bases: adenine, cytosine, cytosine, guanine, and thymine. The two strands are connected by chemical bonds between the bases. Adenine bonds with thymine and cytosine bonds with guanine. All right. I want you to focus on the word bonds. The two interwoven strands are connected by chemical bonds. And these are the bonds. They just named the four that bond, okay? So now we're going to read Psalm chapter 2, verses 1 through 3. Why do the nations rage? Or, it says, why does the heathen rage? And the people plot a vain thing. So the people, the heathens, the nations are plotting a vain thing. The kings of the earth have set themselves, and the rulers take counsel together against Ahiah and against his anointed, saying, let us break their bonds in pieces and cast away their cords from us. Okay? Then he shall speak to them in his wrath and distress them in his displeasure. So this is the Most High sitting back, listening, watching the kings of the earth and the rulers of the earth take counsel against him and against his anointed to break their bonds into pieces and cast away their cords from them. Let's take a look at the words bonds and cords in Hebrew. The word bond is a noun, and it is H4147, Moser. It means band or bond. And the definition says from 3256, properly chastisement, by implication a halter, figuratively a restraint, a ban or a bond. Now let's go to cords. Cord is this a bath?
Strong's H 5688. Avoth. Avoth.
Aboth. All right. And look at the definition, you all. Cord, rope, cordage, foliage, interwoven foliage, interwoven foliage. Let's go down to the definition here. The same as something entwined. A string, a wreath or foliage, a band, cord, rope, or thick branch, thick bough or branch. A wreathing chain. A wreathing chain. All right. This is what the kings of the earth and the rulers of the world were having a meeting saying, let us break their chains, their bonds, their interwoven chains or cords into pieces, and let us cast them away from us.
Document, if we suspect we've misspelled a word, we can use the find function to highlight the error and correct it or delete it. Within our DNA, that function is taken on by a system called CRISPR-Cas9. CRISPR is short for clustered regularly interspaced short palindromic repeats. CRISPR consists of two components, the Cas9 protein that can cut DNA and a guide RNA that can recognize the sequence of DNA to be edited. To use CRISPR-Cas9, scientists first identify the sequence of the human genome that's causing a health problem. Then they create a specific guide RNA to recognize that particular stretch of A's, T's, G's, and C's in the DNA. The guide RNA is attached to the DNA cutting enzyme Cas9, and then this complex is introduced to the target cells. It locates the target letter sequence and cuts the DNA. At that point, scientists can then edit the existing genome by either modifying, deleting, or inserting new sequences. It effectively makes CRISPR-Cas9 a cut and paste tool for DNA editing.
Here we go.
All right. So we're told that CRISPR-Cas9 is a cut and paste editing tool for DNA. All right, let's keep going. Let's take a look at our DNA here. Our DNA is composed of two strands of RNA that has those four bonds that are composed of these bonds that bond or band together. We get the average person gets 72,000 bands or bonds from their mother, 72,000 from their father, which totals 144,000. So we know that Revelation talks about 144,000 in all white praising the Lamb. So once again, here is one. Now this is one strand of RNA. You have a double helix of DNA, but this is one strand of RNA, which by itself will contain 72,000. So basically the video we just watched, they've learned how to manipulate the DNA and to cut certain pieces off and then insert. They can count and insert whatever they want to change, edit, imprint, delete, or remove can be done. All right. And this goes back, these are our bonds, or our cords, our interwoven, our scrolls, the scrolls to our body. Our DNA is like it's just like a computer program. And so now we see why the head of, allegedly, the head of Microsoft was so interested in this whole thing, because we know he has nothing to do with medicine. All right. So I want to show you all here. Here is the Statue of Liberty. We know her as Lady Liberty, but I've told you all in previous videos who she is. She's the Queen of Heaven, the same person that we, throughout the Bible, Baal, we've been warned not to worship her. We've been warned not to worship her. She's known by many names. And there's a trinity of them or whatnot. So here she is again. And I want to point out to you all that I think I have in a previous video that she's holding a torch here, but this torch is actually, if you take a look at it and zoom in, you can tell this is a male's private part. This is the tip of a male's private part, and she's holding it. All right, now let's take a look here. These are the steps to this torch. Did you all know that the stairs inside of Lady Liberty are 2 double helix or interwoven strands going all the way up to her crown? And then there's another set that goes all the way up to that that torch that she's holding. So you have the double helix coming from the male part, just as his seed would, and then it's going all the way down Lady Liberty. And this picture is from the Library of Congress, where you see a detailed view of the double helical staircase with engineers evaluating a prospective railing design, the Statue of Liberty, Liberty Island, Manhattan, New York. All right. Like I said, photos from the Library of Congress. So now I showed you all this. I just happened to, this was nothing but the Most High. I've showed you all in previous videos and talked about what this is. This obelisk, what we know as the Washington Monument, there's one here. They're erected throughout the world. And actually Nimrod, it represents Nimrod's erected male part. Every place Nimrod conquered, they would erect or build an obelisk that demonstrated his power. But as I was teaching my science class, I was teaching about, we were learning about levees, pulleys, simple machines, and things of that nature. And then we happened to get into the stairs. And I've known for a few years that the Statue of Liberty had a double helical spiral staircase that looked like, that was interwoven like our DNA. But as I was reading or teaching in this science class, we came across a page that said the Washington Monument also had a spiral staircase. So that sparked my interest. And after that, I pulled it up. And you all take a look at this. This is the spiral staircase that goes from the bottom all the way to the top of the Washington Monument. But you can't make this up, y'all. What does this look like? And I got this image off of Wikipedia. This looks like a needle with a strand of RNA. This looks like the point of a needle, and here's the opening, and here is the strand of RNA. So you had the double helical steps of the Statue of Liberty plus this helix of the Washington Monument, which represents, you know, three helix, basically if you put them together, it'll be 3-strand DNA. And I was just blown away when I came across that, or when I pulled that up after class.
The difference of this fourth industrial revolution is it doesn't change what you are doing. It changes you. If you take genetic editing, just as an example, it's you who are changed. And of course, this has a big impact.
Hacking human beings. To hack human beings, you need a lot of biological knowledge, a lot of computing power, and especially a lot of data. If you have enough data about me and enough computing power and biological knowledge, you can hack my body, my brain, my life. You can reach a point when you know me better than I know government and corporations for the first time in history have the power to basically hack human beings. There is a lot of talk about hacking computers, hacking smartphones, hacking bank accounts, but the big story of our era is the ability to hack human beings. And by this I mean that if you have enough data and you have enough computing power, you can understand people better than they understand themselves, and then you can manipulate them in ways which were previously impossible. And in such a situation, the old democratic system stopped functioning. We need to reinvent democracy for this new era in which humans are now hackable animals. You know, the whole idea that humans have, you know, they have this soul or spirit and they have free will and nobody knows what's happening inside me. So whatever I choose, whether in the election or whether in the supermarket, this is my free will. That's over. That's over.
Interesting. Very interesting, you all. So he described human beings as being hackable. How? How can they hack human beings? Did they figure out how to hack human beings by accessing our scrolls, our unbreakable bonds through some type of backdoor method? And now this reminds me of the scripture that says, if the watchman knew. Matter of fact, let's see if I can go to you. Matthew 23. Okay, here it is. Matthew 24:43. But know this, that if the good man of the house had known In what watch the thief would come, he would have watched, and he would not have suffered his house to be broken up. So it's like, as I've been reading these scriptures, I'm getting a whole new meaning as to what the Most High has been warning us about. He's been warning us from the beginning. Genesis, genes. We know what happened in Genesis 6:4 when the DNA of the sons of Ahiah, or the sons of heaven, came down and mated with women, and they polluted the DNA of humanity. No one was after their kind anymore. And so the Most High had to destroy the whole earth, and start over with a family that was perfect in their generations. Their genes were still as he had created them to be. How would the enemy attempt to hack or break into the house? With a palisade, and here's the good man, not on watch, just letting the enemy break in, just letting the enemy backdoor his way in, because we have our bodies are fearfully and wonderfully made. We have filters. I'll stop for a minute. We have filters. Our bodies are fearfully and wonderfully made. So if we ingest anything, we will naturally start to vomit it out, sneeze it out, poop it out, sweat it out. It's going to come out because our immune system is going to naturally do what it's designed to do, and that's defend. However, the immune system, when the house is breached and something bypasses the immune system, kind of like a thief breaking in and bypassing the alarm. There are 3 ways to bypass the immune system. That is by going directly into the blood-brain barrier, or anything injected directly into the bloodstream bypasses the immune system, and the body automatically accepts it as familiar or good, so it doesn't try to fight it off. The third way is through the eyes. Anything that you drop into the eyes, like eye drops, that bypasses the immune system as well. All right, let's see where we are here. Who knew Okay, let's read this, you all. I'm not going to read the entire thing, but I just want to touch on it. And this is an article from back in 2003. And it says, a chip is 400th the size of a grain of salt. So just imagine the size of a grain of salt, but this one is for a 400 times smaller. So this talks about a Microsoft computer chip so tiny that 400 of these computer chips could fit on a grain of salt. And they will begin to revolutionize electronics next year. All right, this was published on December 15, 2003. But I want you all to take a look at this. This is the tip of a syringe. And this is a little microscopic computer chip that fits in the tip of a syringe. All right. Once again, this is an image of our DNA, which is the double-strand helix here. This is one strand of RNA. But if a person has one strand of RNA injected into their bodies and begin to bind with their double-stranded helix, they now have a triple strand RNA. A triple strand DNA. And I want to focus too on the fact that, remember, we get 72,000 from our mother, 72,000 from our father, which totals 144,000. If we have an additional 72,000, it gives us 216,000. So remember, Revelations 13 said that the number of the beast was 666. If you multiply, remember in expanded form, if you multiply 600 times 60 times 6, you get 216. So one strand of RNA is 72,000. 2 strands is 144,000. 3 strands is 216,000. So 216,000 strands of DNA, it equals having a third strand added. 600, 3 score and 6. So this is a new species. This is a new, let me show you all this last thing here I have. This is from the Supreme Court. This is a PDF I've downloaded a few years back. But you see it says October of 2012. This was argued about, it was basically some scientists that were going back and forth in court about patenting our DNA, which is a double helix. But they were they had cutting edge RNA technology. And so, long story short, the Supreme Court ruled and said, you cannot patent DNA because DNA is natural. You didn't create it. No one can patent that. But you can patent isolated DNA that you've isolated and that you've added to by mRNA technology that you've added to the person, and that any person that receives this, which is now called cDNA or complementary DNA, can be patented and are no longer entitled to human rights because they are no longer human. They are now hybrid because they have a different DNA. They don't have a double helix as regular DNA. All right. This was all the way back in 2013. And here we are in 2023. So this was 10 years ago. We're going into 2024 now. I played this before in one of my videos. I'm going to play it again.
Your Majesty, the Commonwealth of Nations globe.
What did Psalms 2 say? That the rulers of the world and the kings of the earth were behind closed doors conspiring to break the bonds into pieces, to cast their cords, the cords of the Most High and his chosen from amongst them. Was the plan all along to give humanity this third strand of DNA? To go from 144,000 to the number of the beast, 216,000? It looks like the Queen showed us the new tree of life. The new tree of life. So now I'm just going to read some scriptures. And then I have a ton of scriptures, you all. But I'll just read those that are relevant and put the rest in the description box. Leviticus 19 and 19. Ye shall keep my statutes. Thou shalt not let thy cattle gender with a diverse kind. Thou shalt not sow thy field with mingled seed, neither shall a garment of mingled linen, neither shall a garment mingled of linen and woolen come upon thee. So you should keep his statutes. Thou shalt not let thy cattle. If you look at that word cattle, it just means, well, one word for it is beast, but beast or gender with a diverse kind, you shall not sow your field with mingled seed. Our fields are inside of us. Our fields are not to be sown with that of another kind. All right? You shall not wear a garment mingled of linen and wool. It shall not come upon thee. How was Esau described in Genesis 25? He came out as a hairy garment. So this is not necessarily talking about clothes, you all. It's talking about our bodies. It's talking about us, our house, our garment. Our bodies are described as houses, temples, and garments. Daniel 2:43. I'm sorry for not having this, which I thought I did have it marked already. I think I have it marked in my other Bible. Oh, goodness, you all. Oh, I'm all the way. Let me go ahead and go to this other one. In the meantime, I can keep going. First Corinthians 3:16 and 17. Nevertheless, when it shall turn to a higher, the veil shall be taken away. Hold on. I'm sorry. That's Second Corinthians. It was First Corinthians. First Corinthians 3:16 and 17. Know ye not that ye are the temple of Ahiah, and that the spirit of Ahiah dwells in you? If any man defiles the temple of Ahiah, him shall Ahiah destroy. For the temple of Ahiah is holy, which temple you are. You are the temple. There is no third temple. Ahiah will not dwell in a temple made with human hands. We are the temple. That's how you blaspheme the Holy Spirit when Yeshaya said the only thing that won't be forgiven is blaspheming of the Holy Spirit. If the Holy Spirit is not going to dwell in a temple that has some type of hybrid beast creature that has 216 strands of DNA instead of 144,000, 216,000. No, that's how you have kicked her out of her home. She's not going to dwell in that temple. It has nothing to do with like cursing her or blaspheming the Holy Spirit. No, you blaspheme the Holy Spirit when you pervert yourself, when you defile her temple and put her out of her home, because she can't come dwell in you now. You've kicked her out of her own temple. 1 Corinthians 6 and 19. What? Know ye not that your body is the temple of the Most High Power, your body is a temple of the Ruach Kadesh, which dwells in you, which ye have of which you have of the Most High, and ye are not your own. So let me read that again. Know ye not that your body is the temple of the Ruach HaKodesh? Your body is a temple of the Holy Spirit, which dwells in you, which you have of Ahiah, and you are not your own. All right, 2 Corinthians 6 and 16. And what agreement has the temple of the Most High Power with idols? For ye are the temple of the living power. And Ahiah himself has said, I will dwell in them and walk in them, and I will be their power, and they will be my people. I had to read that one again. What agreement has the temple of the Most High with idols? For ye are the temple of the living power. And as Ahiah has said, I will dwell in them and walk in them, and I will be their power, and they shall be my people. So remember, this takes me back to where it said a mark. And remember, one of the descriptions for mark said it said a statue or a graven image, an idol. What agreement does the temple of the Most High Power have with idols? None. All right. One moment, you all. I had so many things bookmarked. Okay, so Daniel 2 and 43. And I'm just reading from the regular King James Bible. But still trying to make sure I don't say the names of the idols. And whereas thou sawest iron mixed with miry clay, they shall mingle themselves with the seed of men, but they shall not cleave one to another, even as iron is not mixed with clay. So remember, Daniel saw King Nebuchadnezzar had that dream, and it scared the life out of him, and he wanted it interpreted. And Daniel, the Most High Power, Ahiah, gave Daniel the interpretation, and he told King Nebuchadnezzar what he would see in the last days. He saw this big statue, a golden head, silver arms and chest, bronze abdomen, iron legs, toes, iron mixed with clay. And Daniel said, and he also saw a huge stone, a huge mountain rise up, turn into a stone, and come and strike down that image. Daniel told King Nebuchadnezzar that that image represented every kingdom. The golden head is you, Babylon. The silver was the Medes and Persians. The next kingdom was the kingdom of like Alexander the Great. But then at the end, he saw this weird kingdom. And there were iron and clay toes. Remember, we are the clay. We were created from the dust of the ground. And the iron represents technology. Those that brought technology to us, the fallen, they will attempt to mingle themselves with the seed of men, but iron does not mix with clay. Remember that verse, a house divided against itself won't stand. You are the house. You can't be divided against yourself. You can't worship two masters. You can't be made of iron and clay. You can't be made of linen and wool, because they cancel each other out. Let's see. I have Daniel 9:27 here and Daniel 12 and 11. Daniel 9:27 says, and he shall confirm the covenant with many for 1 week, and in the midst of the week he shall cease the sacrifice and the oblation to cease. He shall cause the sacrifice and the oblation to cease for the overspreading of abominations. He shall make it desolate, even until the consummation, and that determined shall be poured upon the desolate. All right. So remember, there's an abomination of desolation that are causing the daily sacrifice to cease. What is the daily sacrifice? You are. The Most High said, present your body to me as a living sacrifice. We are the daily sacrifices that are being desolate. Allegedly. Allegedly. Have you all seen the died suddenly memes of people just dropping like flies? And it's the new normal. It's the new normal now. And from that time, the daily sacrifice will be taken away, and the abomination that makes desolate set up. There shall be 1,290 days. The abomination that makes desolate has been put into the holy place where it should not be. Let's see, Acts 17:24. Oh, it says that Ahiah made the world and all things therein, seeing that he is the most high power of heaven and earth. He dwells not in temples made with hands. Ephesians 2, verses 19 and 22. I think I have 2 more after that. Oh, let's see what this is. Is it? Oh, Romans 12:1. That's the one that says, present your bodies to me as a living sacrifice. I'm looking for Ephesians 2. I have. 19 through 22. Now, therefore, ye are no longer strangers and foreigners, but fellow citizens with the saints of the household of Ahiah, And ye are built upon the foundations of the apostles and the prophets, Yeshua Christ himself being the chief cornerstone, in whom all the building fitly framed together grows into a holy temple in Ahiah, in whom also are built together for the habitation of Ahiah through the Spirit. We're the house. We are the temples. All right, I have Revelations 3:3-4, and Revelation 16, and then any other ones I will just put in the description box. Revelations 3, verses 3-through 4. Remember therefore how thou hast received and heard, and hold fast and repent. If therefore thou shalt not watch, I will come on thee as a thief, and thou shalt not know what hour I will come upon thee. But thou hast a few names even in Sardis, which have not defiled their garments, and they shall walk with me in white, for they are worthy. All right. So watch so that he won't come upon you as a thief, as the enemy has, and do not defile your garments. If your garment is not defiled, you will walk with him and you will be worthy. You will be found worthy. Revelation 16:15. He says, behold, I come as a thief. Blessed is he that watches and keeps his garment, lest he walk naked and they see his shame. All right, I'm going to go ahead and end it right there, you all. I pray that you all have a blessed and amazing day. And I pray that we all continue to watch, continue to pray, and I pray for the endurance and the wherewithal to be able to stand and endure to the end through our King, Christ Yeshua, and through the power of the Most High, Ahia Ashur Ahia. You all have a blessed day, and until the next video, brothers and sisters, Shalawam.